Shoot, don't lie.
Hey, we're live. We're live. Don't say anything you regret.
What's up?
I didn't want to hear that.
Yeah. How are y'all doing
What's
tonight?
up, everybody? How's
It's
everybody
good.
doing?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Great topic tonight. We're going to talk about fear. And we want to know what fear is like, Devo, living up in a camper. Because that's
Right.
where we're at right now.
Hey,
I'm fearful that you about to get electrocuted in that camera with that door right there.
fear is when you don't check your propane levels before the sun go down and you running on fumes, literally. So lesson to be had. Fear is the temperature is gonna drop tremendously tonight.
Oh, yeah.
And a brother will be unprepared for sure.
I hope you got some blankets, my brother.
Oh, yes, sir. That's it.
Well, you look top heavy. I don't want to see what you got on below, but top heavy, you look good.
Hey,
It's like you're ready for the cold.
It's a matching set, baby. It's a matching set.
I hear you, man. That's crazy.
Fear the cold. Fear the cold.
Hey, Matt, before we get started, I know we're using some valuable time that we could do offline when we're done, but I got to shout out Josh Griffin. Let me tell you what Josh Griffin did on Saturday for your boy. So I had just come home from the basketball game, and I don't really want to talk to nobody after the game, especially because we lost. I didn't want to talk to nobody. And I take 14.
Hold on, is this the same team that didn't win a game all year last year?
The team we lost to.
Oh, okay.
Yes, hadn't won a game this season.
Go ahead, Coach.
Happened to beat up. Josh texts, and he's like, "E, what are you doing right now?" I said, "Man, I need 10 minutes." and it wasn't 10 minutes that I actually needed. I just was, bio break. I need 10 minutes. I just don't want to do nothing. But he was like, "Hey, I'm on when you're ready. Come on." And so I finally logged on, and he's sitting in the stands with the UVA gear on. I'm like, "You want to talk to me at a basketball game? What are we doing? Like, really?" So not even 2 seconds later, man, he passed the phone off, and Carla Williams got on the call on the FaceTime. And for those that don't know, Carla is the athletic director at Virginia, but she was my boss at Georgia. And probably the best words she ever said to me, one was, "You've been in higher ed long enough. You need to get your doctorate. Wherever you go, you need to go get your doctorate." And then two, she made me feel real good about the transition back home, because I was leaving Georgia to come back when my sister was diagnosed with cancer. So it was cool. And I'm telling you, Josh, I will remember that for a very long time, because there are a lot of people that I come in contact with that I don't ever want to see ever again. She's not one of them. So when I got to see Carla, that just made my afternoon. So Josh, thank you for making that happen.
You're welcome. She was sitting next to Coach Bennett, like after they did the court, and I walked down the stairs. I said, "Miss Carla," and she said, "Yeah," and I said, "I got a mutual friend of mine that would love to probably see you on FaceTime." She's like, "Who?" I said, "Eric Hart." She said, "Ain't no way you know him." I'm like, "Oh yeah, I do." I said, "He said, give me 10 minutes and he's gonna call." I said, "I'll throw you my phone." She was in the suite, like right near me, so I threw it over there, and they just talked. It was just the smile on her face, obviously, and then Dr. Huxtable down there cheesing after he got off the phone. Man, it was really, really cool, man. So I was happy to do it. I saw her. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna do this for my boy Eric. So
yeah, I appreciate you, man. Love you for that, man. She's one of the good ones too. She's one of the good ones, man. I want nothing but positive coming out of her career, man. She's done some great things from the time she was at Vanderbilt and went to Georgia.
She's good people.
Absolutely. So appreciate that. Appreciate that, Josh.
Yes, sir. Last time you talked to her, Eric?
So when A&T played South Carolina women's basketball several years ago for a women's basketball tournament, we were down there. Unfortunately, that was the night that UVA was either number one ranked, and I think they got beat. So she was in Columbia for the women's game. Virginia was playing down there, and she was leaving to go to catch the men's game. And unfortunately, that had happened. But that was the last time I saw her in person. Was in Columbia.
She was on the phone. She said, "Oh, you got a gray beard." I did hear her say that.
Santa Claus, man. I tell you,
Santa's in the building. Yeah, that was pretty cool, man.
That was
got you. Always good.
All right. Well, let's get after this. Let's talk about something that's a big topic. And Eric, when you said this morning, and you said this could go a lot of different ways, and I think it can. I think everybody can unpack the fear factor. That's what I ended up naming it. Everybody can unpack fear in a different way. So let's go around the room and everybody, kind of hit, what's some things you're fearful of? What does fear mean to you first and foremost? So who wants to start? Or I'll call on somebody. Devo. Again,
Hey, you got to keep hitting them on
thought. Go with me.
Devo, like, hold on.
I was thinking something very inappropriate since our president's about to speak. So, but anyway, I'll let that go. And I guess I'll go with taxes. Taxes right now is very fearful. I need to go ahead and get those in and get working on that and make sure I get all this paperwork together so we can claim some stuff. But taxes tend to stress me out and make me a little fearful. I hate to misstep.
Don't worry about that. Your taxes are going to the Peace Committee.
Yeah.
Your refund's going to the Peace Council. You'll be all right.
Yeah.
Keep you safe.
What about you?
Oh man, I think failure is one that's fearful, and I know failure is not a word we'd like to use, but it's definitely a feeling that we feel as people. And that doesn't matter what it is. It can be in a relationship, in a conversation, work, whatever. I think that's a huge fear of mine.
Yeah. All right, Eric.
I'm still the caboose of the group, so I'm cognizant of the words that I choose when it comes to my boys. That I'm afraid that sometimes I might say something that their age can't handle. And I had to try to watch my tongue even tonight with the game we played again. And I have to remind myself, this is an 11-year-old. And so there are times when I want to say things that could be coaching, good coaching, life lessons. But at the same time, it's like, man, but if he doesn't receive it right, this thing could be destructive. Mm-hmm. And I think about that so much. I'm really constantly worried about the words that I say to the boys and what it might do to them, thinking that their dad said something inappropriate, and that's the only thing I can remember him saying. So I think about that all the time.
Fear my internet failing me.
2 weeks in a row, Matt. Time to switch. Get to AT&T. Switch from T-Mobile.
I might figure it out because man, that's frustrating. Because I probably have to get new equipment or whatever. No, for me, I think it's letting people down. I don't like to let people down. I like to be there, be there all the time for people, support people, support my family, be there for my family, and I don't want to ever let anybody down. And I think that's probably my biggest fear, is that I'm not going to come through for people. And I think that's something probably everybody we all here on this little panel fear. We don't want to let our family down first and foremost,
Yeah.
And that makes it tough. Yeah.
Well, I think and that compounds too on all of that, and maybe it's just like then that turns to worry, and then it just snowballs regardless of what it is. It gets to fear is like that scare, and then it's like, oh no, like then it's just worry, and then you have the mental and the physical and all that stuff. But you ain't wrong about that.
Yeah. Well, second to that, I know you just asked one thing, but I think because both Erin and I, within the last 5 years for her, and then most recently for me, we've had our first bouts of health challenges. It's just that fear of your spouse not feeling their best physically. I know as we get older, we age, and that's going to happen. But for me, it's always like, I want to be the one to break down, not her, because the boys need their mom, and she reminds me, no, they need their dad too. And so, why I think that was an experience we went through. Not say that we're immune to future things maybe happening, because we went through it and the severity of what we went through, kind of me think about what, I just try not to think about life without her. And I'm sure she feels the same way, but I know as you age, there are things that you just never know. You want to be planned for, but you never know what that might happen, what it might look like.
Sure. Yeah. Hey, my boy, I got to say a shout out right now, my boy, Tim Black. That's my boy right there. Hey, Tim, I don't know if I'm going to speak in a conference. If you're still watching, I'm going to speak down in Wilmington this weekend. Tomorrow, Thursday, I speak, and it's a conversation. It's on mental health for first responders, and so I'm a keynote speaker there Thursday. Looking forward to that. And man, I had a lot of good flights with my man Tim Black right there. A lot of good flights.
That's cool.
Medic, flight nurse extraordinaire. So that's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
You ever like what is and goes into what you said, and then well, obviously we talk note stuff, but like what does it look like? What does fear look like? I know, I mean, we talked about worry, but like what does it look like to y'all? Like when Debo, when you're scared of taxes, and I know that's in the now. Like what does that do? Like mentally, do you just go worry? Do you retreat? Like what do you do when you fear things?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? I'm gonna pull one of Eric cards. Not trying to be. Well, anyway, what I'm gonna say, I don't know that I fear anything. Like, I get nervous about stuff, but fear is to me is a whole different level. Like,
Yeah.
I've screwed up enough in my life. You know what I'm saying? I fell down, I got back up, and I think I'm to the point now that I know whatever I screw up, I can eventually clean up.
Right.
So I don't necessarily know that flat out fear, but I guess if I had to try to pinpoint some things, I'm thinking about my kiddos. You know, I got 3 people that's gonna carry my namesake at least for a little bit, right? And so I often ask myself, have I done enough to ensure that they are prepared for the future? Like this world is just crappy, man. And like at any given moment, like think your whole livelihood can be snatched away from you, right?
Yep.
And so like a lot of times I'm not sure that people really comprehend that, especially a lot of people in our society where they feel like we're just immune to outside influences, and that's quite the case. Or you know, you prepare your whole life, you go in for this job interview and someone doesn't like you because you wearing a Carolina shirt or you got your nails painted purple. Like it can go for any reason. So like that's the stuff that just kind of gets underneath my crawl a little bit. It's the things that I can't control for the people I love. Like I know I'm a screw up, you know, and I'm probably gonna mess up probably 3 or 4 times before the end of this conversation tonight. But at the end of it, I'll be all right.
We're prepared. We're prepared.
We're good.
We got it.
He's cold, ladies and gentlemen. If he says something, it's because he's cold.
Right.
I have to agree with what Tim says right there. You know, fear breeds anxiety and creates stress. Stress can be debilitating, and that is so true. Like you know, again, like when I get overwhelmed and get stressed, you know that's what tends to happen to me. Like I get going, and my mind is just going 1,000 miles, you know, per hour, and I can't slow it down. And you know, I think that becomes a hard thing. You know, that stress that you can build on can really affect a lot of stuff that's going on inside your body and inside your mind and heart. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So you know, hey Devo, you come back to you, but you said something on last week's podcast that I had no idea. You know, in your timeline and all that, you talked about.
Be careful.
No,
it was during the call.
This was during the call. It wasn't the after show.
I said something that got me in trouble, and then I was like, if you didn't see it, don't react.
But you mentioned that you had some health issues a couple years ago, right? You said something about. Didn't you say you had something going on a couple years ago?
Yeah. I had
no idea until you mentioned that on the thing the other day. Here I am, you know. Obviously, Eric's had his health issues. I've had my issue with cancer, and then you dropped the bomb last week, and I'm like, he said, "What?" You know? Yeah. So talk about that a little bit. You know.
Well, I mean, all you got is your health, right? And once you don't have your health, you don't have anything. So, I mean, I think that's kind of floored me and kind of allowed me to put some things in perspective, man. Like life is just it's fleeting, and so we have to capture as much of it as we possibly can. And again, if we don't keep ourselves as healthy as we possibly can, especially if it's things of your own doing, like like at the end of like what for? Like why? Like why? why do you continue to put yourself in the same spot and then talk about what was me? You know, eventually people begin to quit feeling sorry for you. So you kind of got to tackle it, and you gotta as my old preacher used to say, you got to die to self. and you got to quit. You got to quit. Well, my preacher didn't say this, but I say it. You got to quit doing dumb shit. And so that's the other piece.
True. Very true.
But I think you said it, like, why? Because we all done it, right? We've all done something while fearful, whatever. It's we band-aid it. We try to lose that feeling, whether it's alcohol, drugs, like those are the easy ones to name off. But people do other things, food or pornography, like whatever it is, to kind of band-aid however we're feeling, but it's a short-term fix. And it just compounds and compounds and compounds and compounds until, if it's health and you're like, oh crap, I got to stop doing this. But I think we're men. So unless someone tells us definitively, you need to stop this right now, we're going to figure out a way to, he didn't say I had to. He said it would be a good idea. So I'm fine. And so I think that's just stubbornness, and that's just being a man, that we're like, he didn't tell me exactly to do that, so he would if he could, if I was a problem. But I think that's a short-term fix to just kind of, band-aid that thing, and that it makes it be horrible. I mean, Matt, like your stuff you had going on, or even Eric and Debo's stuff too. Like, if you don't health stuff, you don't catch it early, it can cause. Forget the physical stuff that it could do to you. Then it mentally drains you, and then you're just done. I mean, once the mental is gone and the physical is done.
Yeah. When somebody like I said it before on here, when somebody looks at you or you read it you open your phone and you read it and it says you have cancer. That's one of the big problems I think with our health system today. I shouldn't be able to open an app and open my phone and look at the daggone test results and see I have cancer on my own. No.
Or be in the middle of a podcast and actually not be able to get through
finish out. I'm telling you, man.
Yeah. But you shouldn't be able to look at your phone and figure out on your own you have cancer. Again, I told y'all before, I'm lucky. I found out I had cancer, and 10 minutes later, I'm talking to my daughter, who's a third-year medical student, who's going to be an oncologist, and so she laid it out for me. Not everybody has that.
Right.
I think if you said, like, I don't know, you guys may not even know this, like 12 years ago, headaches, right? Like headaches, migraines. I've had all of that stuff like gone on for years. And I go in and I'm just having headaches, do this, do that, go in for an MRI, whatever. I found out I have a tumor on my pituitary gland on my phone. Like, you get the my chart. It's like, what? And you see tumor or whatever the technical term was. And I'm like, we're all Dr. Google when something happens that we don't know what the heck it means.
Dr. Chat.
Right. I'm like, it's this. And I'm like, I got a tumor, and all right, what am I doing? And then you go in because the pituitary gland, does everything. And then you go in and it's like, man, the fear sets in, and thankfully it's still there and they're not doing anything with it, but I shouldn't have to find that out on my phone. I shouldn't have, like, that's fear.
That's an anxiety thing.
Sweat and like overwhelmed and like, okay, I haven't had the cancer word, but I can imagine like first thoughts like, all right, I'm going to die.
I'm dead.
I'm dead. I'm dead. Right. I'm dead.
Yeah.
But I think that's, and then it just compounds.
I have no idea. Like, I had no idea what those numbers meant. All those numbers and all this stuff. And I'm like, I'm looking at this and I'm like, and so I didn't see the doctor. I found that on Friday. I didn't see the doctor until late the next week. So what if I had to just sit in my own, doctor check?
I'm never going to an appointment like that on a Friday ever again. Ever.
Well, the appointment was on Wednesday, the day before Thanksgiving. Then you had Thursday, Thanksgiving, and then I found out on Friday. And it was like,
bro, I'm supposed to go all weekend and not talk to nobody.
I mean, like, dang.
Matt, were you like, real talk? Were you fearful? I mean, you read it. This is hot off the press. Like, when you read it, was it fear? Well, like, what was it for you?
Y'all know my personality, man. I don't let much bother me. Not much gets to me. And oh man, I don't know how you felt, Eric, when you were going through what you're going through, but like I had no fear. Like I had no fear. I could have found out that it was malignant, it was spread, it was whatever, and I just literally did not. I didn't have any fear. It just was what it was, you know. Now, luckily, I think I'm good to go, and I'll find out next week. I get the blood PSA drawn next week to see if it was all out of my body or if it is all out of my body, and then if it's not, then I go on to radiation. There's no fear. It's just we'll take it head on, you know, and because it's like we've said a lot of times on this thing. I believe in, my Lord and Savior. I believe in, who I am as a person. I don't
Well,
because it goes back. Last thing I say here, Denzel Washington said, you don't, fall forward, don't fall backwards. What am I going to do? Live like
Right.
in denial?
You can't change it.
I can't change it. I can just go fall forward and take a head on. All right.
Right.
Sorry. I just want to say.
No, you're good. I would say if I didn't feel fear, I'll be telling y'all I was a hypocrite, because y'all know what fear made me do. It made me write my obit.
Yep.
It made me put all the passwords to everything and put a how to get through the first 30 days without your boy. I mean, and it's crazy because even though I'm over on the other side of that now, I found one of the documents and I was like, well, this amount's not right. I got to edit that.
What I tell you, I was like half of that, baby.
I was like, no,
about that.
I don't have that number.
I was like, that credit card's got paid off. I don't have that no more. Okay, we don't have that, but the mortgage's not that much now. And I was just going in there like, let me just edit this. I know we ain't gonna have to go through this or worry about it, but I just went through this. So
spoken like a true financial advisor.
It's the working document.
Yeah, mine was like a call to action. That's what my fear just called me to just overthink things. It was a call to action. But Matt, my fear waned, and I think I said this at one point. Once Aaron and I had decided, because we were talking holistic, we were looking at some other alternative methods and whatnot. But once we decided to have the surgery, and it's happening. Have a date. This is happening. For about 2.5 weeks, close to 3 weeks, that's when my fear went away, because I had made a decision and I was electing to allow my faith to kick in. Was like, hey, flip over a coin, whatever happens. Yeah. And I think I also mentioned to you guys, like the morning of, we get there like 6 a.m. for check-in, and there's a family walking out just wailing. And we knew, what that cry is about. They had walked away and someone's not coming home tonight. And so I was like, dang, I'm walking in the door 6 a.m. It's the first thing I see. I was like, okay, I've been settled in my thoughts. And now that moment right before the moment, it's like, hey, what are we doing here? What are we doing? So, but no, fear was gone. Once we decided, it was like exercise the faith. Once we decide we're having a surgery, let's go.
Faith or fear, one or the other. And I always say it, like if I'm on like my live or we've talked about on here, like faith and fear, you can't have both. You can't. You can't. He wants us to not, do not fear and have faith. But he might have been testing that faith of yours that morning. Like, you know what I'm about to do? Let me let Eric walk in at this time. But we can't have both. We can't. We try. Like, oh, God, I got it. I'm good. And in the back of our mind, we're like, oh man, but what if? You can't have both. That's easier said than done.
You're so right, Josh, because Sunday night, excuse me, Aaron and I were talking about something that she was going through. And I found myself saying something very similar to that, but I used this whole narrative of you're living under condemnation. You're still in that on that side of the Old Testament. I said, it's either going to be that you trust God through your situation in all ways, acknowledge him for what you got going on. He's going to direct it. It's either that or the fear is going to kick in and it's going to creep in. I don't think we use fear. I know I used, I felt like she was under conviction, condemnation. And I said to her, I said, Aaron, I believe that sometimes, I believe that miracles still happen. It happens to the just, it happens to the unjust. God is merciful. He can create miracle opportunities in your life. But I also believe he withhold blessings sometimes when you're not willing to let go or let release things to him, or when you're dependent upon your own strength to get things happen, to move things, to pick that rock up the hill and lift that burden. And it's like, well, I'm ready to release blessing to show you
Don't
who
block
I
the
am.
blessing.
But until you let it go and you change places with me, I heard it say, like, when you work, God rests, but when you rest, God works. And she was really wanting to manage those things with things that were happening to her. And I was like, babe, the Lord is like, okay, boo-boo, do you. And until you're ready to sit down and rest, I just want you to rest. So let me be who I am. Let me carry that burden up the hill for you. And she actually slept like a baby Sunday night. I don't know if that was just comforting to her soul, but it's kind of like that. It's faith over fear. Which one are you going to choose? And like I said, I went through it. I experienced it, just human side of being afraid of having surgery and type of surgery. And I was afraid. But again, once it was like, this is going to happen, there was no second guessing. All I was doing was waiting until the date. But once the decision was made, it was like, Lord, you got it. And I'll say, and this is not to brag, but more to brag on God, I haven't been sick or in pain in that regard, or just in general. I'm talking sinus, nothing. I haven't had any situation since that time in July. And Aaron, not Aaron, but Ethan and I pick a lot, because I said I'm living at Samson strength. I said, turning 51 in a couple of weeks, and I said, I'm living at Samson strength. I feel like I'm the strongest I've ever been in my life. But it's the mindset shift of saying, all right, Lord, I don't feel like being sick again. So put the burden on me, put the heavy, let's go and let's roll. And so it's just the mindset. The mindset is really anchored in His will, not mine.
So Tim said, thanks for sharing. I need to hear all y'all. And that's the purpose of this podcast, right? The purpose that we come in, and we're just four men here, but there's a lot of us that need to come together. We need to share. We need to build this community of men and lean on each other. I spent a lot of time in the trenches, with Tim. I mean, when you're talking about health, when you're talking about the people walking out and they're crying and all that. I mean, that's one thing about flying, as air.
Well, Tim, you sound like a good guy, and certainly would love to have you on the broadcast. And maybe your Wi-Fi is a little stronger than Matt's.
Man, it's killing me, man. But you see all this stuff, right? You see these families going through it. You see the loss, and it can be hard. It can be hard on your mind. It can be hard on your faith and all that. And Tim also said this, and then said every time I tell a patient they have a dreadful outcome, I live that fear as if it were me. That makes you more empathetic, sympathetic, right? Empathy and sympathy, are they the same thing? I'll ask y'all that. Are empathy and sympathy the same thing? No. How are they different? I think it's a great question. I think it's a good conversation.
Ooh, man.
Yeah. Well,
so I think I exercised that earlier this evening, and I also want to make this comment known to the group, to lift up my colleague Ashley in prayer. She just found out she was diagnosed with breast cancer, and I told her, I said, hey, I'm in a community of some praying men. We're gonna pray for you, so we're gonna hold you up in the light. The empathetic part of that in the email in the back was because of my experiences with Erin, even as a husband. I didn't go through the breast cancer, but was holding her up through that process, and really know how that impacted our life, and really got us closer. And so just seeing her go down and not be herself for a period of time, that just made me feel like I needed to be there for her. Just hey, nobody can come and see her unless you believe that she can be healed. And so having that moment to share with my colleague Ashley was like, hey, anything you need. I can't say I know what you're going through, but I know what we went through. And because we're in the community of believers, we're going to lift you in prayer. If it's no other reason, then you got some praying people that are there to lift you up through your ordeal. So I think that's obviously the empathetic part about it. It's really easy to be sympathetic, because in a community of people, you want to be able to have a kind word to say with no kind of true understanding of what they're going through. I've never gone through it, but you don't want to be, oh, that's you, that ain't me. Hate that's you, but that's not me. So that sympathetic lean will allow for you not to be rude to someone's situation, and you want like hands raising emojis, all kinds of things that may not connect you, in the way that an empathetic. I've been through it. I've been that struggle. I'm hold you in a light.
You said it right. Yeah, I can empathize with you because
empathy's feeling with them. Yeah, empathy's feeling with them, and sympathy's feeling for them.
Yeah, I've been through it. I know what you're going through. I can empathize with you. Sympathetic is a tough time, but I sympathize with you. Right? All right. So look, how is fear showing up in your behavior? Like when you have something going on, what kind of, how does it show up? How do you show up? What are some things that happen in you, your personality, your things that are going on, how you treat people? What do you do? What do you do?
I think it depends. I think it depends on the situation for me. I mean, I can get numb and be, a stone. I can be irritable. I can retreat back and not want to. My extroverted self becomes very withdrawn. Maybe not extroverted anymore, or not even introverted, but just withdrawn. I think it just depends on the situation for me. I've learned to try to not be as argumentative, or how I say things. They're not always the best way, articulated the best way, but I'm hopeful that people see the heart when I say things. They're like, that didn't, but we know where it's coming from. Are we good? Because I don't always articulate them the right way, but the intention is there. But yeah, I think it just depends for me, Matt. Like, depends on the situation.
Devo.
Never.
What? It's a serious question. I was diving deep, Eric, and you just laughed at me.
It is because I keep, man. You know how you have y'all had that Tony Dungy? Not Tony Dungy, but what was the coach that don't press in? Which coach was that? That was Herm Edwards.
Herm Edwards.
I'm having a Herm Edwards moment. Like, don't share that story. That's like how fear showed up in your behavior. Don't share that story. Don't press in. But Saturday night, I had a fear moment because I know I saw a drug deal go down at the gas station. I mean, I literally was like, I rolled up.
Which car were you in?
I was in a truck, but on the opposite side of the station. I'm like, why is this car not moving? And they're not pumping gas at all. And this car drives around on the other side, and they don't get any gas. And I'm sitting there watching the whole thing. I'm like, And I saw the guy go to the other guy's car and put his hand in the car and stuff. And I got my boys with me. And I'm sitting here like, well, I don't want to seem like I'm afraid because I got my gas pumping and like this stuff. So I just calmly lifted up the console and put my hand down. And that's the first time that Ethan saw my thing. And so he was like, Dad. I said, hey, boy. He said, what are you going to do? I said, protect you and your brother. And so I just kept my hand right there, and let the gas keep going. And the guy kept looking back. But I think there was a moment where they were like, it ain't worth it. Let's go ahead and leave, man. Because he got back in his car and drove off. And the other guy maybe waited a couple of minutes and then drove off in his car. And then I calmly just took my hand off and shut, and finally the gas finished. It was taking forever. But I was like, what do you do? It's kind of like one of those, what's that show, that TV show? What would you do? I'm sitting here like, I know this is a drug deal. I know this is what's going on. But if I get out the car, I'll have my boys exposed. So I just calmly rested my hand where it needed to be.
They're like, is that his?
It's gonna go one or two ways.
They were like, is that his beard? Yeah, we fine. Just
I was like, it's only gonna go one or two ways, But when Ethan was like, "What are you doing, Dad? I said, I'm protecting you." I said, this is just how it goes. So it's not how you have it listed here when I'm looking at how does fear show up in your behavior, but the defensive part was what made me laugh because I said the defense I'm gonna replace with protective. Because in that situation, I felt that it was like fight or flight. That I was going to do whatever it took to make sure the boys get home. I could have. Now, Mom would have said, "Hey, you could have just took the gas thing out, left, and just be done."
Just get your $3. Like, keep it pushing.
Get $3. Go to the next station.
Change.
You
like
the
change.
You like Becky. You want to stick around and see what the end of the story is.
I did actually. I did. But that was crazy. But maybe fear made me sit there for a minute. I was like, because. Do you get out and separate yourself from your boys?
Well, I mean, that's a way it shows up too. Sometimes we just freeze. We're like, And then after the fact, you're like, you know what I would have done? You know, like
I didn't do that.
No, you wouldn't.
I didn't do that. I just let the console down, just like, hey, you know, it is what it is. Then it turned into a discipline daddy. Don't you ever go to you bet not ever go in and lock that thing up. So,
Yeah.
Dr. K, how about the story when somebody, Josh knows the story, I believe, when some dude broke in my house, like came in my house. So yeah, you can't make this up. It's New Year's. I think it's New Year's Eve. It's right around New Year's. I can't remember if it's New Year's Eve, right around New Year's. So I'm back in the bed, man. I'm out. Like I go to bed early, right? Wasn't New Year's Eve, but it's right around New Year's. So I'm back in the bed. I'm out. Laney's home from school, so Laney's out with friends downtown Winston-Salem, and she had texted Tisha that she was coming home soon. She didn't have her house key, so Tisha gets up, walks into the kitchen as she went in to start the dryer, unlocks the door so Laney can come in. Goes back, gets back on the couch. She's like watching her phone, waiting for Laney to get home, and then she hears the door open, and she's like, and then she hears like breathing because she's like, there's no, in her mind, she's like, there's no way that Laney's home yet. She couldn't have got home that fast. She hears some breathing. And the next thing you know, she says her feet didn't touch the ground as she ran back to the bedroom and she screamed, there's somebody in the house. I'm like, okay. And of course, I take off up front, you know, seeing what's up. And there's this dude who's about 6'4", 6'5" in my kitchen. Well, this is where I screwed up, right? And I didn't think about grabbing any of my utensils out of the bedroom back there with me. I just take off and go up. And so here I am looking in the kitchen, and I'm standing right here, and there's a dude about 6'4", 6'5" at the kitchen sink. And all he's doing, he's like sitting there and his hand's going through the water. And I look at him, he's bloody. He's got blood like on the back of his head. And his hand is bloody and it's going, and I had no idea. I'm like, what's this dude up in my, what's he doing? He has his hand in the sink and he's just doing the water like that. Well, guess what? I knew that I had left a knife right in the sink, because I had cut something a little bit earlier. So I'm assuming it's still there. And I just start talking to him. So Tish is back behind me. I'm talking to the dude and she's like, I thought you had it under control because I'm just sitting there talking to the dude real calm, real smooth. And what I'm doing,
it's like Hallmark. It's like Hallmark. You got me with the pillow and sheets. Is she gonna kiss him?
I was at the moment. I did that on purpose, man.
It was snowing and we kissed.
It's like you had like a Hallmark moment.
I move up behind him and I'm going to get a knife. I move up behind him. I'm going to get to my knives, and I'm just like talking to him, all calm and all that. And then I said to him, I was like, hey, go ahead. You leave my house, man. We'll call it even, man. I won't call the cops or anything. And I'm moving up and he starts walking and all Tisha's looking at me through the living room into the kitchen. She says, all she sees is this silver knife right behind the dude. And I'm trailing him out the house and I got this knife and I'm holding it, man. I'm ready to go. To your point there, if he'd have turned. But look, I mean, I put myself in a bad situation because I moved up within feet of this guy, and if he had any kind of intentions, I don't know why he was bloody. I still to this day don't know. But the police had been looking for him because as soon as he walked out, the police were out there, and they had him. And
just timing though, the fact that he came to the back of your house when Tisha, it's just wild.
Yeah. It was crazy. It was crazy. But, again, I could have a gun.
Angels there for both of us in both situations where we were protected because we needed to be on this podcast. And had it gone sideways, we both would have been there. You would have been there with Bruce, and I'd have been there with Chuck. It would have been bad.
We just talked about camping or something. If
So hey,
and I put it up today, on my Instagram and stuff like that, with the song, and that song by Zach Williams, "Fear is a Liar." I think fear just can, whatever that is, however it manifests itself in us, that takes the mind somewhere else, and we worry about this when something like this is going to happen, and it just takes over. And I think that's where the mental fortitude, mental struggle is how do we tell the fear? It's not really something now, granted, those two situations, fearful, but how do we tell our minds that we don't need to be fearful, that we need to have faith, or that we need to, it's not as big as what we think it is? I think that's where us men get ourselves in trouble, is we're like, we make it bigger than what it is and fearful when we shouldn't be, maybe.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Y'all see that comment?
Was that next? Was that next?
I want to throw it up because it's been said a couple times, right? The what if, man. In counseling world, I talk about the what if with people all the time. People live in fear of the what if. What if this happens? What if this happens? What if this happens? What if this happens? Well, what if your taxes get screwed up? What if my health goes back down? What if I go next week and my PSA is not what it's supposed to be? What if? You can live in fear with the what ifs. And I think a lot of people do that so much that they never can get control.
Or enjoy life now. I think what if puts us in it's an uphill battle. Yeah. We can't enjoy what's going on now, or even process it's almost like kids now and problem solving or having a conversation. They can't. If we're going to helicopter them or we're going to give them everything in that instance, they're never going to learn. If we're in constant fear and living in that what ifs, we can't problem solve mentally, physically, emotionally, whatever, for us or our family or our friends or the people in our group.
Yeah. What were you going to say, Diva? What's up?
Well, I was going to say, I think that's the part that that's when the situation becomes debilitating, is living in that what if world. And like, I think as you deep dive into your manhood or into just maturity, you try to figure out little triggers where you can bring yourself back to reality. Like a lot of times when I start getting stressed out, or a lot of times when things, when I feel like the world is just spinning out of control, like I try to lean on my wife. Like I say, hey, here's what's going on. And I haven't been doing that for very long. Like, I'm gonna just be real. Like, I'm a private person. I like to struggle by my damn self. Like I like to let my family think that the world around me is perfect and smooth. The only thing that's flawed is me. And so like, I try to save face a lot. And so I just continue to hustle and try to push through until I can pull myself back into a good space. But like being free of that burden and just sharing it. Like that's what Amy comment was. Like, how do you do this in a healthy way? I've done it in a very unhealthy way for a very long time. And so, but now I'm getting a little bit more fortitude where I'm starting to be like, hey, baby, this is where I'm struggling. Like, and we have this thing. We'll be like, all right, either I don't need you to fix it, I just need you to listen to me, or yes, go ahead and chirp in with whatever you got. And so like just having someone you can bounce that idea off of, someone who has a different perspective, who has a different view of reality, is I find it very powerful and beneficial when it comes to helping you kind of dissect the muckety muck. And then you have another person who you can bounce ideas off of and see, all right, how can I move forward? And again, I told you last week, I asked myself in 5 minutes, how big of a difference will this really make? Or what type of impact will this have? And then like, weight that thing, man. And if it's not above a 5, flush it. Like, just flush it. Like, let that shit go.
Yeah. What also helps too, I think, when you have, if it's a spouse or a friend or somebody that is on that same path with you. I mean, you just talked about it. Like, hey, she knows the goal. You guys are going the same direction. So that always helps when you're like, hey, maybe I'm gonna need you to pick. It's that whole 100. I bring 100 into it and you bring 100 into it. Today I got 80. I need you to pick up that 20.
Right.
Tomorrow I may pick up your 50. But if you always have to be that 200 to each 100, and if you're going the different direction, friend, relationship, whatever it is, it makes it harder for people, but we'll say men, because we're all here, it makes it harder for us men to share those things. Like you said, like I want everything to be perfect around me because I'm fearful to share that, because are you going to hold it against me later? I read a quote and I think I put it up on a video. It's like somebody said, why don't you share your feelings? Because it's a whole lot like telling the police. It'd be used against you later, or can be. And that's so true. Like, because I think, and we've said it on here before, we don't express the feelings in the proper way as men, and women get tired of us not doing that. So they're like, nah, you're done.
Yeah.
It's just this cycle that just goes. And it's like, hey, I'm trying to express it to you. And they're like, well, you suck at expressing it to me because you can't. I'm done listening to you and I'm shutting down. And then we do this.
Right.
And that's why, I mean, that's the fear part of it. Of why would I share?
Do we do this?
Me later. Right. Well, right.
I think you're right. And Diva, I think I like what you said, because, and Eric, I know you'd be the same way, and we're all speaking the same thing, is that you learn how to, like, what would courage look like at this time? As I get older and I get more mature and I, learn how to listen, I learn how to communicate, I learn how to lean on my wife more, and I think you're spot on about that, because when I need something, when something's going wrong, I turn to her. I turn to her big time, and she turns to me too. But that's where you kind of grow into that, where you're not the individual man just kind of doing your thing and going along with life, like you said, Devo. You learn to kind of.
Yeah, y'all speaking a mouthful for real.
Pick on me. I'm a man.
Right. I'm 40.
Mike Gundy. I got a mullet.
Yeah.
They're kids. You come at me.
It's funny we were talking about Heather Devon, because I was thinking about the calls that I make even here recently to my dad. It's good to be able to get on the phone with him and chop it up with him for things that I may be dealing with. But even he knows that absent from Jesus Christ, my best relationship is Aaron. It is the absolute best relationship that I have, and I'm thankful for my mom and dad for how they raised me, and that I know I can go to them for things. And I love my sister. I can go to her when we need to chop it up. But man, it's just this nurturing, this lay on the bill of warts and all, just whatever. And when I need to be weak in those moments, she's there to lift me up, and it's like vice versa, So I know that because I know Heather, and I know she lifts you up when you need it. And it's the coolest thing to have. It just makes the place space, or safe space. You have a safe space to be able to be vulnerable and say some of the things you normally wouldn't utter, and let anybody know you feel or think. Especially around one of the things you got listed on here, Matt, about hiding responsibility with fearing about money and lack of and other things, or not measuring up or not being able to provide. And there have been those moments, even in the transition with my career of choice, where I thought those things. If we're being real, I thought that December, this just past December, was just like, hey, Lord, I need you to move on my behalf, or what to find something to do. I'm going to create an Ishmael moment and put it back in my hands, because, you're going to have to move. And he was radio silent at the time that I needed him the most. I was looking for some word before January started to see if I was going to make a pivot, and just about as silent as could be. And I realized then, talking about fear, I realized that in the moments where he was the silent, he spoke the loudest. Because it was just as clear as it was. The day was long. I didn't tell you to go anywhere. I didn't tell you to move. So
he wasn't silent. He just didn't want you to change what he already told you.
Yeah. So and I can tell you offline about a win that I had today with a partner of mine. It just is a reminder of those. We've all said the word God winks. It's like, man, just imagine if you just moved 2 degrees left to right, you would have missed the thing that would have been ready to hit you right front and center. I didn't ask you to pivot 2 degrees left to right. I wanted you to stay right there, because when it falls at a pristine point, and that's where you need to be. Otherwise, you're going to miss it, and it's going to fall flat. So some of that fear is panicking to make decisions that you feel that you can live with and control, and miss out on the blessings that were there if you just sat still, if you rested, stayed put. And that's the part that's been helpful with having Aaron there to bounce those ideas, say, did you pray about it? What did God say? And so that has been very, very helpful for me as I, get a little older, to know that I have her there to make sure we put it back to square one. What did God say? Have you heard from him? If you haven't heard from him, we ain't going nowhere.
There you go. Yeah. Right there.
Yep. Fear not.
Right there. Yeah.
But I think too, like and I'll say this, like with men that are listening or women that are listening, I think that's obviously the ultimate goal, what you three are talking about, but you guys didn't get there overnight. So I think if you find someone, the goal, obviously, if it's a spouse, that's the goal, for that to be the person. It doesn't mean it has to happen overnight. You've got to ease into that, get an accountability partner, get a group of men. Like, look, I feel like I can tell you three anything going on. Like, that's what I feel. That's in a short amount of time that we've hung out.
You mean Darren
done this
now or after the show?
Well, no, I mean, just in general. Like, I mean, I don't have anything really to bring up right now, but like, if I'm going through it, I know that if I say it in the group chat or to you guys individually, you're not going to use it against me later. I trust that relationship. I'm secure in that. Now, I have friends, and we all have those. Like, I love you. You're a friend, but. And I think we've been that with our spouse. We've been that with our parents. We've been that with our siblings. Like, we've been that there. But I think that's an important thing, is to find who that is. Mm-hmm. It needs to be your spouse. That's the people. That's who you were supposed to cleave to and spend life with and do all those things. But if that's not who it is, you need to figure out how you can get that to be who it is. And I'm probably talking to myself on that, because that's not the easiest thing for men to do, is to bring that stuff up. So.
Yeah, and I think you're spot on, Josh. And I just want to go back and clarify too. Like, it doesn't have to be a spouse. Like, anybody who you feel that comfortability with, and anybody who's gonna, guard your words, like, go for it.
It takes work to get there, I think.
Correct.
What you're saying.
Yeah, it does. Those relationships just doesn't come by happenstance. You got to put some time in there, or some sweat equity, in order to make it happen. But you also got to be that for that other individual as well. Like, a lot of relationships it's just like, never mind. But anyway, you can't always keep your hand out, right? You gotta, Gary Vaynerchuk, right? What do you say? Punch, jab. You got to be willing to give a little bit as well. You can't just be a taker.
True.
So, hey, I want to just do a little reframe on this verse, because I think it's pretty good too. Isaiah 41:10. Yep. It says, "Fear not, Devon, for I am with you. Do not be stupid and dumb, for I am capital Y, capital O, capital U, capital R, God. G-O-D. Big dude, big joker." You know what I'm saying? And like, I think one of my youth pastors, I think growing up, used to say, always put your own name in the verse. Yeah. Because he is talking to you, dummy. Yeah. And like, don't think he's talking to somebody else. He's talking to you, fool. Like, and just be ready. Step it up.
Put your name in that.
When I, Devon, Josh, am afraid. But I think you just said that, and I was getting ready to say it. Like, I put up something the other day that was like, replace the word girls in a song with squirrel. It makes it funny. I heard a pastor say, after a command in the Bible, put your name. Yep. Fear not, Josh, I am. And you just did it. Like, it's wild. I mean, it applies to, still after all these years, applies to each and every one of us. It doesn't have to be in this situation. We're talking about fear. We're talking about parenting. We're talking about relationships. But that's what he commanded us to do.
Yeah. And just like the young folks say, it just hit different.
It just hit different.
Yeah. I'm going to go through something real quick. And I'm going to this is an old show that we did, old podcast that we did, but I want to just click through these different things that are in there. So it's all applicable, right? So there you go. You got to have trust. Can't fear. If you ask for it, you got to be willing to go,
Oof, be careful.
Yeah. Yeah. How about this?
Hold on. You sending me there?
Yeah.
right. Like
Right.
sell everything.
Yeah, all of it. And waiting for the perfect conditions. It's never going to be perfect, right? Never.
Mhm.
Perfect. That's that trust in God that we all have to have, right? And you go into this one, fear disguised as wisdom. You know? Yeah. How about this one? Why hesitation on feels responsible? It isn't. It's so. I mean, we talk about these things, saying yes to God. Before having the full picture is clear.
All right, Abraham.
Yeah. So these things are great. I was sitting there looking at them, reading them while we were talking. Y'all were talking. I'm like, dang, man. A lot of what we talk about really has to do with it. Devo, we talk about having, well, Josh, Devo, and me, we talk about having older kids and older daughters, and then, where you are, Eric, with younger kids and wanting to protect them, and, Devo with your younger daughter. Man, parenting is hard. There's a lot of fear that comes with parenting, a lot of fear. And then there's a lot of trust, blind faith trust that you have to have that you've done everything that you could do the right way, and you have to trust in God.
Yeah.
That's true. That's
You
so
only get
true.
one shot at it.
Yeah.
That's so true.
Yeah. All right. 9:57. Closing remarks. All right. So who wants to go first? And then who wants to close it out? I'll go first.
No, I go first.
Who wants to go? Never mind, I am.
I go first. Josh close out because Josh, I'm gonna be selfish and ask you to pray for Ashley, my friend.
Okay.
I'm telling you, last time you prayed, boy, you moved the room, and
Okay.
and I really believe that she will be healed from breast cancer. But anyway, so I really I get a lot from this time with you guys. Certainly enjoy hearing from you and your experiences. But that's one thing that really galvanizes us as men is that we know who's at the center of all of this in our respective lives, and I think that's the thing that draws us closer. And I think that's the reason why we continue to pour into each other and want good for each other, because we know we cut from a cloth that is very divine. And I don't think fear is going to separate us. It won't keep us from doing what God has designed us to do and for this purpose. So just continue to enjoy the journey with you guys.
Yeah. Yeah. My
I'll
thing.
just say fear. Don't act like it's not there. I know. I'm sorry. Never mind. Go ahead.
No.
Don't act like it's not there. Then I'll.
You're close now, y'all. Don't jump.
See, I don't listen. ADHD. ADHD.
Stay in your lane, fool. It ain't your turn, man.
Lane. Yeah.
Stay in your lane, bro.
No, for me, it's trust in God.
That Hill internet will work next week.
Yeah, he's going. Look, he's going to get real agitated. He doesn't have it.
Yeah.
He's
Hey,
not.
let me go. It's
Look at it.
Don't panic under pressure. Fear not. And acknowledge fear and know it's real. But then use your bag of strategies to deal with it and try to walk through it. And eat it like you eat an elephant. Just one bite at a time.
One bite at a time.
And push through. And then lean on that big joker, the big dude, to get you through. Because he's got you. Like it's already written. Like he's told us he's got us. Right. And so like let him.
Yeah. Let go and let God. Matt, did you go?
No, you good. I'm ready. It's gonna
Matt doesn't want he wants that screen not to cut off again. Yeah, I would just say let go and let God. I mean, that's all we can do. So, all right, I'll pray it out for this week. Father God, tonight we talked about fear, the kind that whispers, the kind that paralyzes, and the kind that makes strong men feel small. But we also know that you did not give us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. So we lay every hidden fear at your feet. The fear of failure, the fear of not being enough, and the fear of losing control, and the fear of what's next. We ask that you replace it with courage rooted in truth. Remind us that fear may visit, but it doesn't get to lead. You do. And Lord, we lift up Ashley right now. You see her. You know every cell in her body. You know this diagnosis before she ever heard the words. We pray for peace that passes understanding. to guard her heart and guard her mind. We pray for strength for the days ahead, wisdom for her doctors, and healing over her body in the name of Jesus. Where there is fear, bring faith. Where there is uncertainty, bring assurance, and surround her with community that shows up and stays. Be close to Eric as he carries this with her. Give him the right words, the right presence, and steady faith. Tonight we choose fear over faith. Tonight we choose trust over fear, faith over facts, and hope over headlines. And we remember that no diagnosis, no anxiety, and no darkness is greater than you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Amen.
All right. Hey.
Yeah, good job. Thought
Thank
you was
you,
going
y'all.
to drop one in there for your boy and give him a little extra heat tonight. But that's okay. That's okay. We don't hold grudges.
Don't be popsicling tonight. We don't need that. Woo! I got your boy.
Cut that recording off. It's too soon.
All right. Y'all have a good night.